job.
Excellent. Thanks for chiming in there, dude. Always appreciate that. Yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and get started. Let's see, what do I got? What do we got today? We're gonna go. Oh yeah, so I was watching this last night. I'll just restart it because I think it's a really good video. But hold on, before I do it. Well, no. Okay, I'll just play this video. I forgot, what was this? Oh yeah, okay. We'll skip that guy for now. But yeah, Texas border crisis. Everybody thinks like the border's falling apart, that, you know, immigrants are just flooding across the border. That's not really the way it is. If anything, it's more of one of the most difficult times to get across the border legally in the United States. What we're seeing happening is, since it's so difficult to get into the United States legally through the legal processes and everything that's been established with the addition of Title 42 and basically Biden's reluctancy to remove Title 42, even though it's somewhat been dissolved, it's basically just been renamed and rebranded, and everything that was under Title 42 still exists pretty much. It's still incredibly difficult to get into the United States. Texas, being a border state with one of the largest borders, is one of the most difficult places to get into unless you do it illegally. Doing it illegally will get you into the United States, and then you can claim asylum, and then once you claim asylum, you have to be processed. In that process, you can be released into the United States. While you await your trial or your time to go and plead your case. A lot of people just kind of go wherever they need to go and then hopefully deal with the problems later or get deported down the line. Those that do try to go through the legal processes sometimes find trouble or immediately get deported. There's a lot of things that are going on that are very atrocious, very much filled with the vitriol of Greg Abbott, where he recently said that the only reason they're not shooting immigrants that cross the border is because the Biden administration would arrest them for murder. Things like that, basically. Just really, really awful shit that no logical leader of a state would be saying. It's just it's pure garbage. You can see who these people are just by like what they're thinking and what they're saying about what they're thinking. Yeah, good redaction there. Don't say dumb shit on my comments, please. Somebody who replied to one of my comments with something that was very in poor taste. But anyway, so what Andrew Callahan here did from Channel 5 is he basically went to the border. He made a previous video where he spoke with a lot of the immigrants that were coming across and were coming through illegally, that were already captured essentially. And he talked to them, interviewed them, asked them what the reasons that they were coming. And it was very insightful as far as the people that are coming here and their reasons for coming here. I highly recommend watching that video. If you haven't seen his content, I really think that Andrew is a really good interviewer. And I didn't know he was so bilingual. I didn't know he was so fluent in Espanol. But yeah, very good. A very good vocabulary. Probably better than mine, honestly. I would probably say yeah, definitely better than mine. But yeah, play the video. Here we go.
Hola, mi nombre es Andrew Callahan y hoy estamos en una ciudad que se llama Eagle Pass, una ciudad en Texas muy cerca a la frontera.
In our previous episode, we were in Arizona, in Gringo Pass, covering the border situation there. But in the grand scheme of human traffic, Gringo Pass is small potatoes compared to Eagle Pass.
In the past couple of years, or past couple of months, Eagle Pass has kind of been the center of the border crisis in the U.S., mainly because the border here is less fortified.
It's a river instead of a wall, and you can't build a wall in the river, I don't think. Plus, from a population perspective, Eagle Pass is in a pretty remote area. And so for a long time, our
Golf is the absolutely most useless sport in the world. I'd go off on a tangent, but it's just stupid.
government paid it no mind.
The Border Patrol and ICE's budget is about $17 and $18 billion per year, and they spend most of that money fortifying more traffic borders, like the border between El Paso and Juarez, San Ysidro and Tijuana, and even Laredo in South Texas.
Which has caused the cartel that controls human smuggling routes along the border to shift their operations to this dandy little town, which up until this year was virtually unknown, aside from being the place where No Country for Old Men was filmed.
Yeah,
Pass
and
has been on the
smuggling
map
people
recently,
across the border
more in
is
the
a
past 1, 2 to maybe 3 years, more than
very
it's been
profitable
like, its
business.
whole life.
The scene yesterday in
I've
Eagle
never
Pass,
heard of Cheddar
Texas,
Blanco.
has
I'm
become
sorry.
quite
I don't
familiar.
listen to rap
Texas
that much
has
either.
taken
So.
control of
Especially
a park
local
in Eagle
stuff.
Pass in the fight over the state's razor wire on the border. The Biden administration is asking the High Court to let Border Patrol officers take it down because it's interfering with federal law.
Thousands are crossing here. Like we had like a couple weeks ago, like 6,000 crossing one night. Like just caravans of them come through. Elon Musk came a couple weeks ago. I feel like, I mean, it's cool.
He was wearing his hat backwards in that in that whole
He's
time
coming
he
and
was
putting
there.
some attention on it
Fucking
because we're trying to
doofus.
get help. Like this is getting out of hand. Like a lot of business owners are complaining. It's getting like to be a big deal, you know.
In our previous coverage along the Arizona border, I got the chance to speak to many migrants of different origins. Some from Guatemala, some from Guinea, some from Senegal, and some from Bangladesh. And though their stories were all quite different, the common thread between them was economic uncertainty and political instability in their home country, which they were happy to tell me about. What I wasn't able to gather a lot of information about was the actual process of being trafficked by a coyote. And so after leaving Arizona, I came into contact with 2 coyotes who live in Piedras Negras, the town across the border from Eagle Pass, who had somehow seen my show, and so agreed to give me an interview, as well as a complete ride-along and a tour of their operations. However, their meetup instructions were pretty sketchy. They refused to meet me across the border in Texas, and instead insisted that I walk over the border on foot to meet them on the other side. So I figured that just to be safe, I'd find a local bilingual friend to help walk me across and make sure nothing crazy happened. So I hit up local rapper Cheddar Blanco to essentially be my escort.
Riding with 50 racks, so I keep me a strap on my lap and a strap in the back. Riding with 20 bags of the gas in the trunk, gotta serve like the whole Eagle Pass. And I got EP on my back, so I do what I do to put us on the map. Remember way back in like 2016 when young Cheddar had married the trap.
Cheddar is born and raised in Eagle Pass, and growing up,
All right, Cheddar, your name better not be Edgar, bro. Also, bro, come on.
had a lot of
You're gonna put a hole in your mom's house, man. You need to
friends
chill.
and family who were involved in the coyote business.
So how much does it typically cost to have a coyote transport you across the river? It can go, I've heard different ranges. I've heard 5,000, 10,000. That's just like crossing the river. Then you still have to pay a couple thousand to like get taken up to San Antonio. Cause leaving Eagle Pass, there's a checkpoint. Like any city you go to from here, you're gonna get stopped by Border Patrol just to make sure you're a U.S. citizen, and then you're good to go.
Oh,
so
guarantee,
Really,
yeah.
you gotta pay another couple thousand to make it out of the city.
So when they had, I think they still do have, what was it, Operation Lone Star, where they have basically Texas Highway Patrol all up and down. I think like what is it? It's like 100 miles from the border, 200 miles from the border. Basically, you are harassing everyone that is brown. That's driving around there, in just in that general vicinity. Not only is it terrible for people that are brown, that to get pulled over, that live there. That's the other thing, is it's horrible for everybody that lives there. They're constantly being harassed. Oh, that's cool. No. Sorry, pal. I'm not going to reply to that right now. I feel sad. But yeah, it's a major issue for anybody that lives 100 to 200 miles within the border. It's a huge problem because you're constantly being harassed. There's a huge amount of cops. Like anybody will tell you that lives within the vicinity of a police station, you're at a much higher chance of being pulled over, at being harassed, at being ticketed, if the police are within your vicinity. If you live in an area where there's not as many cops, or like let's say gated community, where there are no cops and it's just security, the odds of you being pulled over and ticketed are very low. Now, when you increase police presence, the odds of you being ticketed go up significantly. So not only are they harassing the citizens that live within the vicinity, they're also there to basically pick up and harass anybody that might be Hispanic, that might look like they just came across the border, or that just generally doesn't look like they belong there. That kind of bullshit. It's a total waste of money. It was a huge, I forgot exactly how many millions or billion that Operation Lone Star cost, but it was something astronomical. Where we have plenty of other problems that could be taken care of.
People end up spending like 20 bands, bro. Like to go from Mexico to Chicago, San Antonio, anywhere up where they're trying to work, they spend 15 to 20 bands for sure.
And do a lot of migrants cross without the help of a coyote?
A lot of them do. Surprisingly, like I came across some, and I even talked to some. They say that with zero money, they came over here walking, like from Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, like all these different countries where the country's just so bad. They don't have like there's no light and water sources. There's no food, like things like that. No jobs, obviously. And they said Mexico's like the hardest part, that the police will always rob them. Like $10, $20 that they might have, anything, they'll take anything off of you. Like.
On Friday, they clashed with Mexican police here wearing riot shields. Some migrants jumped into the river using rafts to get across.
I'm very for them coming here and bettering their life. That's the thing. Like, I'm very for, like, I wish we had room for everybody, but there's just got to be a more structured way for sure. Like, I don't know the answer to it, but the answer to me is not send them back, because there's nothing for them. You're sending them back to where they can just get killed, starve, and live a life of poverty. Like, I wouldn't say sending them back is the answer. We got to figure out how we can budget and how we can have them here,
Okay, so I agree with the sending them back is not the answer. Now, one of the problems that you might, or one of the things you might ask yourself is, why would people want to come to the United States? What we've done to these countries is just pure evil. It's an exploitation thing. Capitalism relies on the exploitation of not only its working class. So that's why you see a lot of people get paid minimum wage, and in some cases not even minimum wage, for example, servers. But capitalism requires the exploitation of the working class, or if you're not going to exploit the majority of your own population, then you have to find other countries to exploit. You would say, how are you going to take control of other countries as the United States? Well, there was this thing called the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine basically cut off the rest of the world from the ability to colonize the Central America and South America. So basically, the United States said, no, this is mine, and nobody else can colonize South America anymore, or Central America. Nobody else is welcome, and if you do, then that's an act of war, and we'll go to war against you. Whatever else had already happened at that time had already happened, so the countries and whatnot were set. So it seemed like a protective doctrine, right? The Monroe Doctrine was. Really, like anything that the United States has done, or anything any imperialist power will do, is once they have established control of a region, they will begin exploiting it. So we have viciously exploited South America and Central America. If you look at what we've done to Guatemala, if you look at what we've done in Venezuela, Argentina has a lot of effects from that era of imperialism. And just the things that we've done, for example, coups in Chile, and actually those countries that I previously mentioned. Colombia is not a good place to be in. It's not in a good place. There's a lot of reasons that people come from those countries into the United States because the living wage that they're making, and I don't know if he explains it in here, is not enough. It's not sufficient. It's very much poverty. If you think that there's poverty in the United States, it's even worse in other countries. If that is even imaginable. So yeah, that's one of the many reasons that people do immigrate to the United States. There's a lot more money that they can make here, even working minimum wage compared to what they have back there. But again, they go from exploitation of or a major exploitation in another country where the United States is heavily exploiting that country to exploitation as the working class in the United States, which also sucks, especially since there's no health care offered for most of those minimum wage jobs. There's no benefits that you're going to get as a worker that would get you ahead.
1 p.m.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons that we don't offer that is because we already know that people are coming in and doing labor jobs in the United States from other countries. That's probably a good chunk of our labor market is people that immigrate from other countries that don't have documents, that aren't certified technically to work, and we actually do a lot of that on purpose. We actually ship people in. This whole thing about shipping people in on buses, they do that on purpose. They actually ship people in on buses to Tyson plants, Stonyfield? No, Smithfield, not Stonyfield. Yeah, Smithfield and Tyson are two of the biggest ones that have programs like that, where they basically import labor from Mexico to come work at the plants, and then once they complain too much, then they just call ICE on them and they get them deported. It's a really fucked up situation.
Was the time that I was scheduled to meet the Coyotes,
Anyway.
who told me on Signal that they were waiting for me on foot in a plaza across the bridge. Cheta told me it takes no more than 5 minutes to get into Mexico from Eagle Pass. No border patrol, no customs, no nothing.
We're literally right at the bridge, so a couple hundred feet over there is the river. We're gonna walk over the river, over the bridge.
He's gonna cross the border illegally.
Professional coyote. He's gonna take you through his route. You're gonna go probably over some desert areas. So basically, you're just gonna go through what an immigrant would have to go through without papers for sure. How to cross into the United States with no papers. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Have you gone over there a lot, growing up?
All the time, bro. I come and buy medicine. I come and get my contacts. A pair of contacts is $8, bro.
We first pass a toll booth with two attendants who barely notice us.
What up, Bucks?
Crazy how easy it is for us to cross.
Oh, dude, I saw you follow the other day. Hold on.
Good.
You weren't here
Cheta
for
gives
it.
a toll
You gotta.
and the border open.
So when you hit follow, check this shit out. It does
I
that.
like what you got. Good job.
That's for me, man.
Thank you.
So we're now basically entering Mexico, and it was that easy.
That easy, bro. Once we get to the end of this bridge, there is a little hut you go through, but they don't check for ID. They don't pat
I'm
you
drunk,
down.
so I'm about to
They
go
don't
to
check for ID.
sleep.
They don't check
Cool,
for ID
dude.
at all.
It's all good.
Then on the other hand, is that a border patrol boat?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
the
I'm
brand
just,
right
you
there.
know,
Yep. Oh, look, they're getting married right now. Oh, hell yeah.
talking about the
Hey,
border.
congratulations.
Dude, check this shit out.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're getting married on the bridge, so he or she gets her
What's
citizenship.
going on in Texas?
What?
We're
Yes,
crossing the
that's
border
how it works.
illegally.
Some say it's the right way.
That's
to
what's
come into
going
the
on,
country.
bro.
Others argue it's an immigration loophole as they exchange vows and say "I do" at the doorstep of our border.
Have you seen this
So
vid?
one of them
It's
is
good.
probably full Mexican citizen, and one of them does have U.S. paper.
I haven't watched the whole thing. I think I got up to about this far, and then I don't know what happens after that. But don't spoil it, man. But yeah, marrying on the bridge is wild. But I've known people. So okay, so I dated this girl, and then it was a not serious thing. We were both not serious. But then she ended up telling me that this person that she knows has a kid, and their kids in Venezuela, and he basically proposed the idea of them getting married so he could be a citizen, and then he can bring his daughter here. to the United States. And I was like, you're seriously thinking about this? And she was like, yeah, it would just be on paper. It wouldn't be a serious thing. And I was like, you need to like rethink this shit, because like getting married and tying yourself to someone legally like that's a huge thing. But yeah, that is definitely something that happens. I mean, it is for a better life. I do agree. Yeah. But you, as a person that's not thinking about it further than just helping somebody else out, like you need to understand that there were also I've seen the reason I say this and I pointed out that way is because like I saw the way that this guy behaved, and you had to wait 6 months for a visitor visa, dude. Yeah, that shit's bananas.
So one of them
But yeah,
marrying the other.
the way the guy behaved that was proposing this idea to her, I was like, that's a red flag, dude. Like, it's all red flag.
How's the other to now become?
But as far as
US
people getting married and like like those couples or the couple that they showed, like that, like yeah, why not, man? Why not? Like yeah, if it's a legit relationship and all that stuff, even if as long as everybody's in a positive light, I would say yeah, sure, go for it.
Said they'd be waiting.
All right, so we're in Mexico now.
We're in Mexico.
At first, we couldn't find them.
Oh shit! I think these fools are over here, bro.
Then, in the corner of the plaza, we saw 3 dudes. One with a gold chain, and 2 others. I wasn't quite sure, but I think these are my guys.
What's up, bro? What's up? How you doing?
It's 100% hustle, yeah.
What's going on, man? What's going on, bro?
To my surprise, these dudes couldn't have been older than maybe 20.
¿Qué es la plan? ¿Qué vamos a
Bruh.
hacer?
Vive la experiencia, vaya, ¿no?
No, es mi primera vez.
Eso diría su primera vez.
Yeah, sí.
I told them it was my first time meeting a coyote, and they seemed a bit apprehensive. One of them began throwing up gang signs. The other abruptly
It's like
asked
I'm in middle
everyone
school all
except
over
me and my
again.
cameraman to leave.
Tú y tú, nada más.
Sí.
No, pues trataremos de tomar un taxi, iremos a punto
This is,
de lugar y
yeah.
para comenzar.
Para comenzar.
Pero
Simón.
nomás les pediría que sean muy discretos porque
Sí.
hay varias cosas que pasan y no quiero.
Hold up, bro. Let me throw up the chat on here. Make sure my chat doesn't. Make sure I don't miss the chat. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, he threw up MS-13, right? It's all good, bro. Yeah. My dream since I was 7 was to move to the U.S. I'm 22 now. That dream was abandoned a long time ago. So you never moved? You never made it here, bro?
Simón. Be like as discreet as possible.
They say the larger our group is, the more likely we are to draw negative attention.
Sí, nomás queremos que sea discreto y si pues van a grabar en la cámara,
Dude.
pues no sé si me puedan borrar a mí.
Sí.
Bugs, well, what do you mean still calm, dude? Like, he's showing you how hard it is to get into the United States right now.
Sí,
Okay.
Por favor.
Sí, 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 sí.
Porque no vaya a ocurrir algo mal. Pero pues bueno, vamos a darle, ¿no? ¿Quieren la experiencia?
Sí,
Venga, vamos.
To be honest, I was a bit alarmed here. My mom always taught me there was safety in numbers. And I crossed the border with Cheta Blanco and my 2 cameramen, Larry Susan and Elliot.
Got accepted to a university in the U.S. in Montana on a major didn't even like. I still would have took that shit, dude. Montana is probably not the best place, but a boat from Europe. Yeah.
That made our collective number a solid 4, which is a good number. But now it seemed like if I wanted to continue the shoot,
2
I more or less
years.
had to cut my crew in half. So I had to do a stern risk-reward analysis in regard to the potential danger that could be ahead. After all, I have
145.
2 dogs, and not everything.
Isn't it crazy? 145 journalists killed from 2000 to 2021, but the IDF caught that up in a few months, right?
Is worth it for the content. I recall about 2.5 years ago when I first began to take journalism seriously, my parents...
Oh, you gotta get married? Hey, man, when you get here, just get on Tinder. No, don't get on Tinder.
Sat me down and gave me a simple demand. No cartel, no ISIS. And it was clear that if I continued the shoot, I'd be breaking the rules.
True.
But if I'd came this
We're
far,
coming up with
I
scams
wasn't
right now, bro.
And so I sent my crew back to Texas.
I will see you back in Texas. All right, brother, be safe. All right, see you guys.
You gotta get Hirako here.
Keeping
the
only
goal.
Larry Susan by my side. As we enter a nondescript taxi cab, headed to God knows where.
This shit's sketchy, bro.
The taxi begins driving, eastbound, away from the border plaza and into the heart of Piedras Negras.
Oh,
For
dude,
some
I forgot to
context,
turn the camera back on.
Piedras is
Goddamn.
generally considered to be a pretty safe border town. It actually has the lowest homicide rate of any border town on the Mexican side, and is literally 10 times safer than Tijuana or Juarez. It's also where nachos were invented 80 years ago by a man named Ignacio Anaya. whose simple combination of cheese and tortilla chips irreversibly altered the course of history. Plus, according to the U.S. State Department's travel advisories, Coahuila, which is the Mexican state that Piedras is in, has a level 2 travel advisory, which means to exercise increased caution.
Bro,
So
you know
that's
how
what
much
I
a
did.
house
After
is
all,
right
there was
now?
no-
Like a small house in Texas will run you at least like $300,000 US right now, dude. It's fucking crazy. 650, 650 for a good size house, yeah, or 650 for a house in the city. Dude, no, double that here for half of that. Double the price for half of that house, basically here in Texas right now. And that's in the sticks, like not even in the city.
No backing out at this point. We were in the complete custody of these two teenage coyotes who said
Bro,
they were taking us
650
to a
in
spot
Florida?
along the Rio
Jesus
Grande
Christ.
where they'd been permitted to operate by a larger parent organization, which will not be named. We continue
I
to
hear you,
drive
man.
until we reach the outskirts of town.
Nazi City, USA. I'll have to queue that up. I got some other related stuff that I wanted to watch.
Mexican 7-Eleven. And soon, we're driving on a remote road past what looks to me like the projects or something. I'm not sure how to explain.
projects.
It looked like a trailer park.
These are houses in Mexico. This is what they look like, man.
Built with concrete, if that makes sense.
This is not like Project 8 housing or what a Section 8 housing. These are houses in Mexico.
Abruptly, we're instructed to immediately get out of the car, which is alarming and honestly quite disorienting, given the fact that I assumed we were going to the river. But still, my options for escape are pretty limited, so I figured it was time to just play it cool and do an interview.
Hold on. Hey Hirako, are you from Threads? Did you follow me on Threads, or you just showed up here on Twitch?
Americano,
Sí.
es Army, también en el lado mexicano.
Ok.
Y esto también nos puede causar problemas a nosotros.
Sí, yo entiendo. ¿Es peligroso o no?
Es muy peligroso porque muchas
peligroso, pero sabemos.
Sí.
Es peligroso para
What?
Para las hijos.
Thanks for the sub, Bucks. Fuck yeah, dude. Thank you. Let's go. See a little skateboard wheel now.
Sí. Abuelas como eso. Sí.
Sí, nos ha pasado a nosotros que hemos cruzado.
Thank you, man. You didn't have to do that.
They
but
say
thank
that
you.
in terms of crossing the river, the shorter you are, the more dangerous it is. On a typical day, the Rio Grande is about 4 feet and 9 inches deep, which is just above the average height of an 8-year-old. And over 58% of Mexicans reported not being able to swim, so it's very possible for young migrants below the water depth to drown if they lose footing. Upon further research, I learned that most of the world actually cannot swim, and there's a direct
Yeah, I can't swim
correlation
for
between
shit.
socioeconomic status and swimming ability. For
Petite
example, in Norway, where
bourgeoisie.
the median household income is
I see you.
$45,000,
I see you, dude.
97% of people can swim. But in countries like Bangladesh, Guatemala, and Guinea, where many of these migrants come from, that number is below 20%. So it's
Okay, so that's like a really good point that I didn't think was going to be made in this video, is that the more wealthy or the wealthier you are, the more likely you are to be able to swim. But I don't know what you're apologizing for. But yeah, the wealthier you are, the more likely it is that you are able to swim. So if you come from poverty, odds are you're not going to be able to swim. Oh, okay, yeah. I get it. But yeah, so if you grew up poor, or if you never learned how to swim, those things are probably related. I can confirm that I never learned how to swim, or at least I never learned how to swim properly. I never took classes. I remember drowning vaguely 3 to 4 times in my life. Luckily, still here. I'm doing all right.
It's safe to say that most migrants, if not all migrants, cannot swim. I don't know why I was so surprised to learn this information. I guess I just assumed that swimming ability came naturally to all humans as a defense mechanism.
Oh, no, I did not
But
see your
maybe I
thread on
thought
that.
this because
But I'll
I
have to
was
look
so
that
young
up.
when I
Maybe
learned
send
to
me a
swim.
link.
The memory's been erased. Who
Or share
knows?
it to me,
Life's a
like
treat.
on Insta.
Okay, back to the coyotes.
¿Por qué haces estos tipos de trabajo?
La necesidad del dinero. Tal vez no fue un buen camino para tomar este trabajo, pero
Y sí.
no hay de otra. Es la ley más fuerte.
Sí.
Tienes que buscar, por donde sea bueno o malo, tal que tengas tu familia bien.
Y es lo que intentamos.
¿Ustedes tienen mucha familia? ¿Hijos? ¿Hijas?
Yo tengo mis hermanos, tengo
Sí.
18 años.
Ok, 18.
Claro, tengo 18 años. No toda mi vida me la llevo pasando trabajando en esto. Pues digo, fue difícil más que nada, va. Pues vaya, tengo 18 años. Hay chavos de 13, 14, acá hacen lo mismo, va.
Dude, there's kids 13 and 14 doing this.
Sí. Pero hay mucha gente, hasta da tristeza que miran en los periódicos, noticias, gente muerta.
Oh, I gotta click on that. You would think in a state you would think in this state there would be a mandatory water safety training that you have to take, but fuck that. We are just like okay with kids and adults dying to drowning because they never learned how to swim. So I think what you're asking for here is I think what you're asking for here is for the state to pay for it, and that's communism, brother. Can't have no communism in this country. Oh shit. Okay, this is a video I'm gonna watch later. Coming back here.
He says that while this job is
What?
lucrative,
The other
seeing
day?
how many migrants drowned in the river has taken an emotional toll
Same.
on him.
3 migrants
Same.
have died
I'll
near
advocate
Shelby
for that
Park
for sure.
in Eagle Pass. A woman and 2 children drowned in the Rio Grande River.
4 migrants, including an infant, have drowned in Eagle Pass.
Again, it's unclear what can happen at any moment, and this is the risk that these people take. And sometimes
pisses
there's
me off
kids
so much.
involved.
He says that he tries his best to keep his clients safe, but the river is unpredictable, and so oftentimes there's no.
Hold on, did you see this motherfucker? I said Dr. Phil's here to fix the border. The cavalry has arrived. He said, I know he'll fix that shit. Send him to Gaza next. Oh, man. Killing me, dude. You know, the labor system is fucked when my coworker feels like he has to come into work the day after his fuck that fucking shit, dude. I'd be no. You wouldn't see me for months, man. Hell no.
Nothing he can do to save them, particularly if they've been carried
Hell
away
no.
by an undercurrent.
El agua es peligrosa.
If ever
Hay
again.
Sube y baja.
en el agua que abajo del agua se hacen remolinos y te arrastran
Yeah.
para abajo y tú ya no tienes forma de salir.
Yeah, there's
They
a
say
current
that almost
underneath.
all migrants are well aware of the risks, but still cross the river anyway.
Porque, pues, vaya, todos quieren el sueño de estar allá en Estados Unidos.
¿Por qué hay el sueño como eso?
¿Cómo?
Pero Estados Unidos es difícil para más personas también.
Exactly.
¿Por qué todas las personas quieren ir al norte?
Sí, es que todos piensan, tienen la mentalidad de aquí, unos se van y los que están aquí.
And so he basically said that, like it's the dream to live in the United States. And Andrew said, well, why is that the dream? Like, it's very difficult to live in the United States. And I think that's a message that hasn't gotten across to other people that are trying to come here. Yeah, the United States has always kind of been the land of prosperity and whatnot. And like, if you get here, you can make it, that kind of shit. And like, we always put like immigrants like up on a pedestal and say, oh, look, this guy opened up his own liquor store and now he's like petite bourgeoisie owner, and he's making $100,000 a day and he's got a mansion, whatever, like all this bullshit. It's like, dude, it's not like that. It's not really. You come here and you're gonna be busting your ass, busting tables, or building a house for somebody, building a house that you'll never be able to afford in your lifetime, or just doing bullshit jobs
Y
and
los
then
nuevos
getting
que
spit
van,
on.
Pues los que van creciendo les dicen que allá es lo mejor. Pagan mejor, buena
Yeah, the
comida,
jobs do pay
buenas
better.
casas.
The
Pero
food's
yo
better, the
estaba
houses
allá
are nicer. There's a lot of apartments and if you can get into like low income housing, but then you have to have documentation and you have to qualify for that shit and you have to do all that stuff. There's so much red tape around everything.
He vivido realmente, no sé, he estado encerrado, trabajando encerrado, es lo único. Pero pues de algo sí sirvió, pues es.
Bro, okay, you just described the United States right here. Work, sleep, work, sleep. That's all we do. That is all we do.
Trabajando encerrado, es lo único.
You live for the weekend comes and you dread going back to work.
Pero pues de algo sí sirvió, pues es lo único que voy hacia allá es ganar dinero.
Sí. ¿Y tú quieres ir a los Estados Unidos también?
No, realmente ya no. Ahorita estoy muy bien aquí.
He says that he has no desire to immigrate into the U.S. Having worked a minimum wage job in San Antonio, he feels that many migrants...
Bro, I'm pretty sure... I don't remember if I started when I was 15 or if I started when I was 16. I started when I was... I'm sure I was working at 16. I was working at Albertsons, just being a bagger. The grocery store. My aunt was like the manager there. And I went through like a lot of traumatic shit just working that first job. And I ended up quitting like shortly after that. And my aunt was like, why'd you quit? And I was like, I don't want to work anymore.
Migrants who cross
but I
the
didn't tell her
river
why.
have an unrealistic expectation of what their life will be like in the U.S. But nonetheless, he doesn't challenge their fantasies or try to give them a reality check. Instead, he takes their money. After all, behind importing drugs, trafficking migrants is the most lucrative trade in town.
¿Cuánto cuesta para en típico para personas?
Pues es que ahorita hay un...
Are you doing child labor,
mucha
bro?
gente haciéndolo. ¿Cómo te puedo decir? Hay variedades.
Sí.
Depende si tú quieres llevarte a alguien de aquí de Piedras Negras hasta San Anto.
Sí.
Son como $3,000 o $4,000.
$4,000 para cada persona.
Ajá.
Sí.
Es que ya las cosas cambiaron. Antes yo digo que recuerdo cuando estaba trabajando de aquí a San Anto a Austin eran $8,000 levantador.
$8,000 used to get you to Austin.
El que cruza todo, paquete completo.
They say that just to cross the Rio Grande with a coyote is about $3,000 US, but transportation to Austin, Texas is another $5,000.
What the
However,
fuck?
very few people are currently purchasing the full package, and instead are simply crossing the river and deliberately putting themselves in Border Patrol custody to begin the asylum-seeking process.
¿Tienes problemas con la
That's
policía,
crazy,
no?
man.
No.
But the problem is my dad was a fireman and a union guy and told me socialist value. So it was like you work or you don't know your value. It's a wise man.
Es difícil.
My dad was stupid. I wouldn't say my dad's stupid. My dad was a laborer working in a warehouse, and basically the only advice he gave me was don't do what I do. Use your brain. And I was like, okay, I guess. I don't know what that means, but yeah, maybe I'll do that.
La migra a los Estados Unidos.
Cut to me like 5 years later working at a fucking grocery store.
Si Border Patrol hay problemas con ellos.
Sí, hay problemas con ellos, pero ellos nunca nos ven.
They say that both Mexican federales and municipal police turn a blind eye to their activities.
Of
but
course.
the U.S. Border Patrol has been very vigilant. And so, we're heading to a place with far less Border Patrol presence than the port of entry. This, while safer for them, has a lot of negatives for migrants. Despite generally being portrayed in a negative light by the media, Border Patrols...
That's why, I say, I don't know if you saw my poster earlier, but yeah, don't let your kids work, man. Let your kids... 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, man... Don't let your kids work. As a parent,
just to apprehend and
if this comes back in a VOD for somebody to watch, for somebody to listen, just listen to my voice. Don't let your kids work. Nah, fuck that. Let them enjoy their life. You want them to do work, have them do work around the house. Whatever. Have them mow the lawn. Have them, clean up their room. Have them replace the asbestos in the garage or some shit.
and detain migrants. It's also to save them. Since 2014, Border Patrol has successfully executed over 25,000 rescues of migrants, many of whom are often found actively drowning in the river in Texas, which unfortunately happens almost every other day in the Rio Grande.
Mira, te voy a contar algo. Un día íbamos con un camarada el que nos enseñó. Íbamos normalmente y pues eso es obvio, varios tienen muchas brechas, vaya. Sí. Y pues encontramos un cuerpo ahí ahogado. Sí. Eso me hizo sentir como miedo. Sí. A todos, cuando miras a una persona muerta, es miedo. Le calculaba unos 32, 35, ya estaba descompuesto. Sí. Si lo miraba muy bien, tenía como 3 días ya ahí ahogado, tirado.
¿Ustedes trabajan para ustedes o tienes una boss?
No, normalmente teníamos una base.
Somos los boss.
Okay, sí.
Oh, okay.
They say they used to work for a larger parent organization in the area, but after many years of loyalty and good faith, they've been permitted to work on their own, so long as they're not stealing clients away from the larger parent organization.
God, parent company, the fucking cartels, bro.
If they see themselves as criminals. They say no.
Yo no me considero criminal. Yo soy una buena persona. Hago cosas malas para hacerlas buenas.
Sí.
O creo que sí dice, hago cosas malas que parecen buenas.
¿Crees en Dios?
Yeah.
Creía en Dios. Mucho creía.
I mean, these guys got they got the proper thought. Yeah, you know, sometimes you do have to do some not so good things in order to be able to do better things in your life, for sure.
Dios, sé que existe, pero yo soy voto a la Santa Muerte.
Sí.
Like many people involved in Mexico's criminal underworld, these coyotes worship a deity called Santa Muerte, aka the Holy Death, the most controversial saint in the Catholic faith. Perhaps known most recently as being portrayed in Breaking Bad as the god worshipped by the Salamanca twins, Santa Muerte, along with Jesus Malverde, are generally...
Bro, this is why evangelicals hate us. This is why the Protestants hate us.
portrayed by the media as being narco saints. However, this is not the full picture. She's worshipped by many different groups in Mexican society who are living on the margins, where death is a constant force, and sometimes an
we're out here like this,
such as those living in an area that is constantly besieged by violence, those suffering from terminal illness, or, much like the adherents of the Satanic Temple in America, by contrarians who detest the influence of rigid Catholic values on Mexican society.
A lot of people join to some level to be kind of contrarian.
So it's no surprise that the Catholic Church officially condemns and rejects Santa Muerte. The Vatican referred to it as a devil, a demon, and an insult to the Christian faith. But on a larger cultural level, it's not supposed to symbolize the worship of death, but instead a symbol of hope, to help people deal with
you hit a point once your baby left us that you realize you need guns. True. That is true.
Existential dread
I agree.
Death can bring. Santa Muerte asks her...
You know, like, so I do in my spare time listen and watch a lot of right-wingers that are very much military bros. And you have to keep an eye on these guys because you have to see what they're doing. And it's really keeping them at arm's length, but you like what's the saying? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, right? You have to see and reflect as far as what the other side of the coin has going on.
Instead of
not the other side of the coin, but
she asks that we not fear mortality, but accept it as all of our shared fates, and reminds us that death is not the end, but actually the beginning to the afterlife. It's thought that the first appearance of a death deity, or skeletal Grim Reaper type figure, emerged in medieval Europe in the wake of the Black Plague, which killed a third of the continent's population in under a decade. But there was also an Aztec deity called Moctlan-Tecutli, the god of death, who was often appeased during ritual human sacrifices performed by the Aztecs, who, along with the Mayans, controlled most of Mexico until 1521 AD. So
I always just like if you catch me calling somebody banana brain, that's what I mean.
So this god of death figure existed in both Spanish colonial and pre-colonization indigenous religions, but almost fell into cultural obscurity until the Mexican drug war began in 2006, leading to a collective 360,000 homicides. Anyways, back to the interview.
That dude was hitting the apple.
Cuando tú fue joven, tu familia fue pobre, ¿no?
Ahorita mi familia son de Michoacán. Allá son
ellos.
Y tú trabajas aquí y después la dinero das a tu madre y papá y hermanos.
Tengo hermanos y mi mamá. Lamentablemente mi papá falleció, pero eso no me agüita, que pues lo único que pienso es de que quiero que mis hermanos estén bien, que no agarren, que no miren un mal camino como yo lo estoy haciendo.
¿Tienes miedo sobre ese tipo de trabajo?
¿Miedo?
Sí.
Yo soy el miedo. Así es.
I am Speed.
Todos tenemos miedo, todos. Pero si no agarras el miedo, lo tomas, él te va a comer.
Sí.
Yeah.
Él te come. El miedo es puramente la mentalidad. No se ha topado de que...
I mean, I agree. You have to control your fear, man.
Muy fuerte delantó un carro.
Sí.
Un auto muy pesado. Es pura mentalidad. Pues la mentalidad es la que te está comiendo.
Vacas. Vacas.
Vacas. Okay, first of all, those belong to somebody. I don't know if I would go down there and fuck with them. Or at least be that close.
Vacas. Lo siento.
After stopping briefly to admire the beautiful free-range cows, the coyotes let me know that it was time to plunge into the forest. Beyond these woods, they said, was the perfect place to cross the river.
Adios, vacas.
If you'd like to see our episode, Hopping the Border, go to our Patreon.
Oh, bro. Okay, so he actually did hop the border. He just can't post it on YouTube. Holy shit.
As many of you know, we are completely independent and primarily supported by crowdfunding, which comes by way of your monthly subscriptions to our Patreon. So if you feel like checking it out,
He made it, though. That's obviously him making it to the other side.
Channel 5 Live Worldwide.
Okay, bro. Damn.
Fuck the authority. Channel 5 News. Channel 55. We don't fuck with custers. 5 is the number.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool that he did make it across. Yeah, I'm happy for him. But like, look at these idiots. So this is our lieutenant governor here, who's a fucking moron, on Fox News the other day. Hold on, let me crank him up so you can hear him. This dude's
in Texas. We believe.
Okay, gotta crank him up even louder. Down. 270. No, let's see. There we go.
We are following the Constitution. Article 4, Section 4, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. We have a right to defend American citizens and Texas citizens, and we're going to do it. And we're going to win at the court. We passed Senate Bill 4. I wrote most of that bill along with Governor Abbott, and that bill will be before the Supreme Court that says
He's a
we
racist.
have a right to defend ourselves against invasion, because this is an invasion from third world countries.
Well,
they're coming here with health issues. They're uneducated, unemployed.
We hear
and all they do is commit crime on the streets.
We hear the.
I wish I knew where this guy was gonna be. I just, definitely give him at least a piece of my mind. But yeah, so he's over here pushing this rhetoric. I don't know if you saw this story. I think it was yesterday or the day before, where this guy just, kind of chopped his own dad's head off, and then like had a 15-minute video. Had a 15-minute YouTube video where he was like basically talking about the Biden admin and how everything's going south, and the United States is all fucked up. He just killed his dad, and then he made this video, and this dude, like, the very next day or the same day, is out there talking about the border and like raising issues. But yeah, dude, it's all a grift. This is all a show. This is all bullshit. Him calling everybody uneducated, unemployed, and saying that they're just going to commit crime on the streets is no different than, when Trump said that they're all rapists and they're all, they just want to come here and kill people or whatever. Same bullshit. It's the same dumb shit. I hate that guy. Him. So Dan Patrick, Ken Paxton, and Greg Abbott are the 3 worst people that we've ever had in charge, as far as Texas goes, and they've really fucked this place up. Texas sucks because of those guys. But yeah, from that comes a lot of grifters. A lot of people have moved to Texas to come and take advantage of like like for example, you don't have to pay estate tax in Texas. There's a lot of other benefits that people get from living in Texas, as in, you know, there's a lot of suburban areas that are pretty spread open, that you have a pretty good chance, if you have a good amount of money, to buy a home and have good acreage and whatnot. Also, if you want to live your wildest fantasies of being a cowboy, then yeah, definitely Texas is the place. And especially if you know you want to live your fantasies of, you know, having Mexican slaves, pretty much, Texas is probably the place for you to go. Which I would assume, you know, that's what like people like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk and all those guys, they probably love it here. They probably love their time being here. Anyway, here's another very rich person that is here in Texas. This was today at posted at 3:47 p.m. It's everybody's favorite doctor, favorite TV doctor at least. Not Dr. Nick, but Dr. Phil. He said. So they were being escorted to the park, like where this whole like Texas like Civil War thing's going on. It's just a bunch of people that want to take down razor wire, and a bunch of people that don't want them to take down the razor wire. They're fighting harder to keep razor wire up than they were fighting to keep a school shooter out of the Uvalde school. So if that's a perspective that you haven't thought about, that's probably one that should be crossing your mind. These people are fighting harder to keep razor wire along the border, instead of, you know, stopping mass shootings that are happening. There's more effort put into that than, you know, something that affects everyday people and their children. But yeah, don't worry, the cavalry has arrived. These are, okay, so they have a flag. These are U.S. soldiers. And that's Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil's here. He's going to fix all of our problems. He's probably just, you know, going to say, well, you're dumb, and you need to fix you. So, yeah. That's, yeah, there he is. Looking like bald bull over here. That's a damn shame, dude. What do y'all... Anyway, so yeah, it sucks here. Anyway, where else does it suck, I guess? All right, I'm gonna watch the nightly news now, and then after that, I have Iran-backed militias and T-Swizzle, you know, doing their thing. And also, I've been meaning to watch this video on stream. What liberals get wrong about Trump voters. I feel like this was talked about previously in Adam Ruins Everything podcast that he does. It was actually very good. I think there are a lot of things that leftists or liberals get wrong about Trump voters, as it's not just about the Trump memes. Like, you have to understand the difference between posting Trump memes and then becoming like Blue MAGA. I think Blue MAGA is a major issue within the center to left hemisphere.
The Middle East. Long range.
Anyway, here's Lester. Oh shit, it's gonna rain. It's probably gonna hail. Hopefully my power doesn't go out. But if it does, then you know, RIP to me.
U.S. bombers launched from the continental U.S. utilized in a series of punishing U.S. airstrikes this evening against Iranian-backed groups implicated in last weekend's deadly attack on American forces. The Pentagon confirming 80...
All right, so we're starting off in like season 5 here, basically. What did happen, though, previous to this is, you know, previous to the 3 people dying, the 3 U.S. soldiers dying, we killed the leader of Kataib Hezbollah in Baghdad. And then previous to that, the IRI, which is the Islamic Resistance of Iraq, had hit one of our bases. I think it was Al-Assad? I think it was Al-Assad in Iraq, and they should have, at that point in time, killed probably 30 people, but instead they injured 3 or 4, I think it was. This was back in, I want to say in November. Yo, free Palestine for real. So going backwards here, right? So 3 soldiers killed. Before that, we killed the leader of Kataib Hezbollah, or one of the leaders of them, or maybe actually I think it was a few people. And then previous to that, back in November, Kataib Hezbollah, or the IRI, hit one of the bases and injured a lot of people. And then previous to that, it was just kind of a lot of going back and forth. But in between all that is also going a lot of back and forth. So this is like, you know, season, we're in season 6 basically here. And this is like the season 6 intro, right?
5 targets were hit tonight inside Iraq.
So don't let anybody tell you that this is like where we're where it's starting at. Like, oh, now we got to retaliate. We got to hit them back. Like, no, this has been going on for a long time.
After the somber return to the U.S. of the remains of 3 fallen soldiers. In a statement tonight.
Imagine dying to continue a genocide. That is the only reason these people died. Is so that the U.S. can allow Israel to continue their genocide. Otherwise, this cocksmoker here would have to tell Israel to stop the genocide and ceasefire.
Tonight, President Biden saying the American response will continue at times and places of our choosing, and warning if you harm an American, we will respond.
Well, I mean, the shield's already off, right? Like, you're taking the silencer off the gun. Like, you might, at this point, if you're the IRI, you might as well just go balls out, for real.
It's where we begin tonight with Peter Alexander.
Because what are they going to do? Keep bombing you? They're already bombing you.
Tonight, the American retaliatory strikes have begun. U.S. Central Command saying late this evening, U.S. forces began striking more than 85 targets in Iraq and Syria, using numerous aircraft, including long-range bombers flown from the U.S. The targets, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Quds Force and affiliated militia groups, hitting their command and control operations centers and intelligence centers, rockets and missiles, and unmanned air vehicle storage, among other sites. President Biden tonight saying our response began today. It will continue at times and places of our choosing, adding, let all those who might seek to do us harm know this. If you harm an American, we will respond. The U.S. strikes come in response to that deadly drone attack by Iranian-backed militias that struck Tower 22, a desert outpost in Jordan, killing 3 U.S. service members. That attack, among more than 160 against American targets by Iranian-backed militias since October.
160,
had
dude.
Previously authorized limited strikes in response that even he acknowledged had not deterred the militias. And the president has been under pressure to respond more forcefully, especially after American service members were killed. All of it just hours after.
Why did we vote for this guy?
After the commander-in-chief performed one of
Also, Lloyd Austin is fucking tall as fuck. Look at that. He's like 6'4".
his most solemn duties, attending the dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base as the remains of those 3 U.S. service members returned home. The President and First Lady joining the grieving families of 46-year-old Sergeant William Rivers, a soldier's soldier, his cousin said, 24-year-old Sergeant Kennedy Sanders, whose family said she was always full of life, and 23-year-old
I can't
Sergeant
comment on
Brianna
that.
Moffat.
Sorry.
Her parents remembering how she could light up a room. The U.S. today also launching preemptive strikes.
None of these quotes were appropriate.
NBC's Courtney
None of them were appropriate.
Kubi is in the region tonight.
I'm here on the USS Eisenhower in the Red Sea, where just a couple hours ago, nearly a dozen FA-18 fighter jets took off from the deck of this aircraft carrier. Their mission, to stop multiple incoming drones fired by Houthi rebels in Yemen. They were supported by EA-18 Growlers, protecting the fighter jets from Houthi air defenses. Now, defense officials stress that these actions tonight were not part of the larger retaliatory actions that the U.S. has been talking about all week.
Our thanks to Courtney Kubi in the region tonight. And Peter, you've got reporting on what...
Hold on. So they're saying that the Yemeni strikes are not part of the strikes that we had planned in order to get like revenge for the 3 deaths. So we're bombing Yemen. Now we're bombing places in Syria and Iraq. At the same time, Israel, an ally of ours, is currently bombing Palestine, or at least continuing to murder people there. How is this not a war?
What was hit in these attacks?
Lester, that's right. 2 U.S. officials tell NBC News tonight that at least half a dozen facilities were struck and that those sites were linked.
Wait, why Iraq? Bro, we've been bombing Iraq this whole time. What are you talking about? That's where Kataib Hezbollah is. Kataib Hezbollah is in Iraq. So these are the guys that actually killed the... you missed so much. So these are the guys that actually did get the 3 kills as far as what's going on right now, right? So they have actually been, they are part of the Islamic Resistance of Iraq, which is kind of like, that's Islamic Resistance of Iraq is an umbrella group. Within that, there's a bunch of different battalions that go by different names. One of them being Kataib Hezbollah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think it is. Battalions of the Party of God. Hezbollah, which themselves Hezbollah, which is the group that's in Lebanon, just north of Israel. They go by just Hezbollah. So these guys are in Iraq. They're the ones that have been going back and forth with the United States. The United States has a base in Iraq. I think it's called Al-Assad. Yeah, Al-Assad Air Base. So this is in Iraq. They've been bombing that one. They've been bombing other smaller bases in Iraq. And so it's just been kind of like a tit for tat kind of thing. There's been a few times where people have been injured. Nobody's really been killed up until the point where I think what ended up happening was when Israel killed the guy from Hezbollah in Beirut, then there was retaliations, and I think we injured people. We killed a guy in Baghdad, and then once we killed the guy in Baghdad, that was escalating, and then they ended up killing the 3 soldiers, which is where we're at now. So that's the recap. Anyway, back to these idiots.
Linked directly to attacks against the U.S. and coalition forces in the region tonight. As we said, President Biden putting out a statement.
That's why I say, like, we're at the opening. You know, we're at episode 1 of season 6, is where we are right now.
Saying, among other things, that he does not seek a wider war in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world. Lester.
Peter Alexander.
But what the U.S. doesn't want to do is go to war with Iran, because war with Iran would mean that everybody in that region, all 30,000 soldiers that we have in that region, would probably die. Not only that, we would lose Saudi Arabia. We would probably lose the UAE, and then maybe Israel, depending on that. Yeah, Iran would be wild. from the analysis that I've heard, that if we were to go to war with Iran, we would need 900,000 soldiers in the area, and we only have 30,000. So, doesn't sound logical.
Thanks. I'm joined now by Admiral James Stavridis, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Admiral, you've heard the list of weaponry and some of the aircraft involved. What does that tell you about the nature of this response?
Three things. One, Lester, this is going to be a long campaign. We're going to bring in all kinds of assets, from the long-range bombers, drones, aircraft operating off ships. Number two, this is clearly a signal.
This is where our money's going, by the way. Like, this is like, we're sitting here watching this shit at home.
To Iran that we are willing to fully.
We're like, man, why can't I afford healthcare? Like, why is the roads fucked up?
We are serious. It is time for Iran to back down.
Why don't I have a massive transit system between cities?
Today, closing arguments in the involuntary manslaughter trial of Jennifer Crumley,
Okay, this I don't
mother
care
of
about.
a teenager who shot and killed 4 students at Oxford. Former President Trump
Oh,
formally
God.
postponed the start of his trial, scheduled to begin next month. While in Georgia,
Okay, I don't care
Fulton
about this
County
story
DA
either. This
Fonnie
story's
Willis
dumb.
addressed allegations that have threatened to derail
Yeah, the roads are all
Georgia
fucked up, man.
election case
Yeah, the
against
roads
Mr.
are
Trump.
like a local
Here's Blaine
city
Alexander.
issue.
And vows to fight the subpoena, calling it an attempt to embarrass
But
and harass
like
her.
they're like, oh well, that's a like everybody will tell you, oh that's a local city problem. Okay, well it's still like it starts at the top, right?
A single-engine plane lost
all going to
power
weapons and
crashed
genocides.
into a
Yes,
mobile
100%.
home community, causing a big fire and killing 3 people, including the pilot. Shortly before the crash, the pilot called for
All right,
help,
Florida,
saying
whatever.
that I was in January.
Get fucked, Florida. Biden bets on South Carolina's black voters.
Giving her mother's student loans, but acknowledges
Biden bets on South Carolina's black
We had a panel
voters.
discussion a few days ago with some students, and we said we like that energy. You know, sometimes we want that for ourselves.
She feels the Biden campaign hasn't communicated well enough to young people like her.
How concerned are you that this community won't show up this November?
I'm very concerned.
You think?
Though President Biden is expected to win big in tomorrow's primary, any drop in enthusiasm could mean trouble for his campaign later this
They didn't let her talk about why she's concerned.
year. Lester?
All right, Gabe, thank you. Coming up, our look inside a Hamas tunnel and what Israeli forces are calling a dungeon. We'll hear from a former hostage who survived it next. In the Middle East, negotiators are awaiting the decision from Hamas on that newly proposed hostage deal. And tonight, we have rare access with Israeli troops inside Hamas tunnels in Gaza.
Hamas
where some of the
tunnel.
hostages were held. Raf Sanchez now in the chilly.
Hold on. Actually, you know what? I think I have a Hamas tunnel over here somewhere. First of all, let's play Secret Tunnel. I'm gonna do something here. Are you familiar with Secret Tunnel? Let's go to Twitter. Hold on, I need to post this. I gotta wait for the music to hit though. Together. Is the idea of Secret Tunnel. He's finding the Hamas tunnels. I think we found the Hamas tunnel. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that. Back to the regular tunnels.
Beneath the city of Han Yunis in Gaza, Hamas tunnels, and a darkness that feels like it may never end.
This tunnel just goes on and on and on.
Until you reach this. Israeli troops showing us what they called a Hamas dungeon. 5 cells with doors that lock from the outside, and a single larger room.
You lose the sense of direction, the sense of
There was no loot in this dungeon.
time.
It was here Israeli troops found these drawings left behind by 5-year-old Emilia Eloni, who was kidnapped during the Hamas attacks and held here with her mother, Danielle.
The only sentence I could say, please God help us, please God help us.
She told us how on
Dungeon,
October
dun, dun,
7th they
dun.
desperately ran into this safe room. Hamas terrorists were outside, setting the house on fire.
I covered my daughter. I don't know why. Because
So I'm surprised they didn't lead with this story. So I've been watching the news every day for a very long time. Especially, I watch the nightly news specifically just to see what type of bullshit they're putting up every day, and it pisses me off all the time. But they usually lead with a story about the hostages. This is surprising.
of course didn't help. And I told her, I'm sorry, my love, but we are going to die here.
Their awful choice. Better to go out and be shot than suffer
Dramatic much?
inside.
I mean,
We
she's
opened
alive.
the window, and I'm waiting for get killed.
Instead, they were taken to Gaza and marched barefoot into the tunnels.
I was in this tunnel for 1 hour, and it was hot.
She
and it was
literally
hard to
wrote a
breathe.
thank you letter to Hamas.
What was it like to be there for 36 days?
Horror,
That I did not know.
suffering every minute.
Every day, a battle to keep her daughter's hope alive.
We told stories.
You know, some Hasbara agent was like, no, you got to go back on the news and you got to tell them that you hated it there and you had no shoes and don't talk about the bombs that were dropping on you. Tell them that you had no food.
We played with mattresses like it's a tent and we are hiding in the tent.
Dog, you had mattresses?
Danielle appearing in this hostage video, her family's only way of knowing she was alive. They were eventually released in November. Today, Amelia is back in kindergarten.
Is she
In November, so they're playing this like as if it was like yesterday that they were released, right?
still the same little girl she was before October 7th?
No. If she
I
can't
hate
see me,
these motherfuckers.
she's screaming.
These reporters and these journalists that they have that are doing this fucking stupid propaganda shit, it pisses me off so much. I'm recognizing their faces, and I'll never forget
Mom,
them.
where are you? She will never be the same kid she was.
Something forever lost in the darkness of the tunnels.
I
Raf
fucking hate
Sanchez,
these guys.
NBC News.
Yeah, Raf Sanchez.
That's Nightly News. Join Meet the Press Sunday on NBC when Kristen Welker
Oh my
has an
God.
exclusive with Speaker Mike Johnson. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please
Oh,
take
she's
care of
gonna have
yourself
Mike
and
Johnson
each
on
other.
there.
Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
Hold on, I saw a thing on Mike Johnson the other day. I was watching a video. Hold on, I gotta find it because it really stood out, and it's something that I had not thought about previously. But give me 1 second. I need to find that video. Yeah, here. Why Christian nationalism? So check this shit
Meanwhile,
out. Check this
some
shit
have
out.
mobilized around what GOP leaders have labeled an
Hold on.
invasion at the
This
southern
guy-
border. I asked Onishi about a protest convoy calling itself God's Army.
Yeah, the
currently
stupid
making its
God's
way to
Army
Texas.
bullshit.
I think the end goal
This
for the
motherfucker
convoy-
right here.
Appreciated the rich history of the flag.
So
And the
he is part of like these January 6 people.
Of trying
Basically,
to
like
get the
in
2020
January
election
6, you'll
over.
see that there was this specific flag that they're waving somewhere in the crowd. Man, I really have to find it. But yeah, they it's like this white flag, and he keeps it outside of his office. Where the fuck is it? Is that it? No.
in 2005
Okay.
and began
Anyway,
studying religion from the outside.
He's
including
basically like
extremism.
one of these
He now hosts
Christian
the popular
nationalists.
podcast, Straight White American Jesus.
Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Mike Johnson is a fucking nut job. People that are associated with January 6th are with him. They are behind him 100%, pretty much.
Welcome to the News Hour. The U.S. has started a series
no, this is
of
not the
military
story I
strikes
wanted to
against
see.
Iranian-backed militias in both Syria and Iraq tonight.
And so, yeah, we covered the bombings. There was a different story I wanted to see from PBS NewsHour. I thought it was actually kind of funny. These guys.
Congressional gridlock on key issues like immigration and taxes are being affected by the 2024 presidential race. For all of this and more, we turn to the analysis tonight of Brooks and Capehart. That's New York Times columnist David Brooks and Jonathan Capehart, associate editor for the Washington Post. Good to see you both, as always. So I want to start with your reaction to the U.S. tonight starting a series of military strikes against
Iran. So the military strikes suck.
In Iraq and Syria.
This
This
shit's been
response,
pissing me
we
off.
should say, is expected to be just the
I need
beginning
to fix the colors
of a longer response. David,
background opacity.
I think it was proportionate.
100%.
We've got to do, I think, be strong and show resolve.
Opacity.
Establish
There you go.
deterrence. Establish
That looks better.
defense, freedom of the seas. But you don't want to sow chaos. And so I think what the administration done is hit the Iranian-backed militias without hitting Iran
Yeah,
itself.
so they're attacking the militias.
Instagram and a lot of
Let me just skip
the
ahead.
most popular entertainment figure.
Hold on, there's some funny shit that
where
he said.
legislation
Hold on, check this out,
can't
check this out.
even get out of either chamber.
He's gonna talk about
because
Taylor
it would
Swift here in a
give a
second.
win to the president. Never mind the real American people who would be helped by both pieces of legislation getting out and getting to the president's desk for his signature.
Before we wrap up, I want to bring up the focus of Laura Barone Lopez's report tonight about Taylor Swift being
check this
targeted
out.
by right-wing talking heads suggesting that she's part of this conspiracy to help President Biden get reelected. What is the political utility of targeting the most popular entertainment figure in the world? Why would Republicans even engage in that enterprise, David?
Yeah, when Ronald Reagan was president, the Republican Party had three purposes: defeat communism, defend free market capitalism, and celebrate an America where a whole
Dog, I wish it was to feed communism. He said
three purposes: defeat communism.
to feed communism. I love auto speech to text. This is awesome. Defend free market capitalism. That sucks also.
Defend free market capitalism and celebrate an America where a wholesome pop star fell in love with an attractive football player. Like, this is as Americana as you can imagine.
True.
And yet what's happened under Trump is abnormality, like a detachment from normal American life into conspiracy mongering.
Guys,
And
is
then
it
what's also
gay
happened
to
is
like
you
women?
have this entertainment complex of hucksters and showmen who want to generate buzz. And what's a better way to generate buzz than attack the NFL and Taylor Swift?
Is it gay to find women attractive?
Look, the types of conspiracy theories that are being thrown around
For dudes.
would make Carrie Mathison go, "Oh, come on!" I mean, this is insane. I can't help but laugh to the point of crying, but then crying because this is what's happened to one of the two major political parties in this country, where you have a guy who ran for the Republican nomination saying that this is all part of a plot.
I love women. I know you do,
Chiefs to win the
Sabrina.
Super Bowl so that
We
she
have
could
that in
come out on
common,
the
by the way.
field and nominate and endorse the president with people. Just pass the immigration bill. Pass the tax bill, and let's have a real conversation instead of doing this hucksterism and nonsense that's happening on the right.
And not for nothing, David Brooks.
Okay, so I saw this. I watched this earlier. This is why I wanted to rewatch this. I thought we had two twinks on here.
So I hear you're a bit of a Taylor Swift fan.
I like early.
Turns out we have three.
Yeah, no. Sometimes
favorite song and favorite lyric.
Well, sometimes she just touches me. She speaks for me. Like, she wears short skirts. I wear t-shirts. She's your captain. I'm on the bleachers, dreaming of a time when you wake up and find that what you're waiting for has been here the whole time, and story of my life. But I will say my favorite lyric. I'm getting carried away here.
No, please continue.
Something I really know about. Her last album, she's got a lyric. my covert narcissism disguised as altruism, like some kind of congressman. That is a great lyric. It shows she's been talking to Lisa Desjardins, so that she knows how their narcissism displays itself.
Oh my God.
So I will vote for anybody Taylor tells me to. So,
Jonathan, do you have a favorite lyric?
I do.
Okay.
I'm more of a Beyonce guy.
All right. Well, on that note, Jonathan Capehart and David Brooks. Thank you both.
Thanks, Jeff.
Have a good weekend.
I did not, the whole time he was talking before that, I did not expect that to happen. I mean, Taylor Swift. She's a little she's what you would call a centrist liberal, right? Like she wants to fight for what she thinks is right, but she doesn't necessarily know exactly what's going on. I mean, average, white woman liberal. But hey, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. I think she is a billionaire. It could be much worse. So here's a 4-minute video on how she became the target of right-wing conspiracy theorists, which the last thing that I heard from right-wing conspiracy theorists, like the Daily Wire type of people that are just lost in the head, is that Travis Kelce's going to propose to her at the end of the Super Bowl after the Chiefs win the game. He's going to propose to her on the field, and then she's going to announce that she's running either as president or as vice president. Which is just like the dumbest conspiracy shit that you can think of, man.
On Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs upset the Baltimore Ravens.
I guess still wish she wasn't on the radar so much. Oh yeah, I can see that.
Championship game, but some of the attention was focused on one person in the stands. That's singer Taylor Swift. And as Laura Barone Lopez reports, major right-wing conspiracies are now revolving around the music icon and her football
Dude, how
star
do I fix
boyfriend.
this?
From Country Sweetheart.
She sounded so bad back then. Wow. I did not know that was her. That sounded
Taylor
really
Swift
bad.
openly perpetuates all the mainstream liberal talking points.
Now, the center of a right-wing conspiracy theory.
They're gearing up for an operation to use Taylor Swift in the election. Now,
Okay, so Jack Prosebek is a insane right-winger. Obviously, so is Jesse from Fox News.
Who run the Biden campaign want to set the big guy up. The most unpopular president of all time.
They keep calling him the big guy.
Taylor Swift.
That's what practice was about. It was about practicing the script.
A year ago, a conspiracy took off when a
Oh my
former
God.
Texans running back joked that the NFL was scripted.
Arian Foster. That was Arian Foster. I'm a Houston Texans fan.
Then on Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs upset the Baltimore Ravens, fueling lies that the NFL changed the script.
I mean,
to
I guess that was an
capitalize on
upset.
these two, Taylor Swift and her boyfriend, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce.
It's a coordinated marketing campaign by Democrats to leverage.
Oh, this lady's absolutely fucking bananas. She's on OAN, One American News Network. She's fucking. She had this whole video. It's like a 2-minute video of her just saying like how this is a whole psyop. What did you do to your face, lady?
Marketing campaign by Democrats to leverage celebrities to excite their base into coming out and voting.
And more recently, a new element was added to the conspiracy theory. Right-wing news pundits are now calling the Swift-Kelce spectacle a psychological operation, staged by Democrats to give Biden a big boost in his re-election bid.
We live in a world that is
It is
animated
full of
by
wackos.
chaos for the most
For
part.
sure.
And conspiracy theories help explain that chaos.
Researcher Joan Donovan has been studying online disinformation for years. She says conservatives are using this conspiracy to critique Biden, stay relevant, and animate their followers.
Stay relevant is definitely the
I think what
key.
they're anticipating on X and
So let me butt in here. So stay relevant is one thing that these right wingers want to do because it's a grift. They want the money. They want the money it's associated with the attention, right? Like if you like ran a Twitch channel or like YouTube or whatever, like you would want people to subscribe to you, to give you money, and so that you can, you know, keep on doing your grift instead of, you know, getting like a job somewhere else where you have to, where you can't spread as much like conspiracy theorist bullshit.
Is really
that's
Taylor
what's
Swift,
happening here.
who had endorsed Joe Biden in
Because otherwise we wouldn't even be talking about this OAN person.
2020 is likely to continue to endorse him. I think deeper in a historical sense, the conspiracy theories about the NFL are also very pertinent amongst the right wing because of all of the history that has gone on with
And they
Black
love
Lives
the
Matter
NFL
and
shit.
Kaepernick. So it is a definite draw for this audience to critique the NFL and what they represent in terms of U.S.
It's kind of
culture.
crazy,
And
like
conservative
how
figures like former presidential candidate
Ramaswamy.
Vivek Ramaswamy chimed in, tweeting, "I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl, and I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially, culturally propped up couple this fall." Donovan says over time, conspiracy theories feed on each other.
Once you search for that kind of conspiracy on a place like YouTube, the recommendation algorithms are going to keep rewarding and reinforcing that behavior. So it actually becomes very hard to leave a conspiracy theory behind because of the way social media is ordered.
I'm definitely gonna
Unfortunately,
hashtag
what it
Taylor
does to
Swift
our
on this
mainstream
video when I
media
upload it to
ecosystem
YouTube.
Is it forces you to respond as a journalist because so many people are talking about it. But I do think there's room for social media companies to look more closely at their algorithms and see what it is that they're reinforcing, so that fringe conversations don't become fodder for mainstream news.
Girl, that's all they want to do. Whatever gets the clicks, they're going to put it up there. That's all they want.
She says facts related to big cultural or political events, like the Biden campaign hoping for another Swift endorsement, and the Swift-Kelsey relationship being worth millions in brand value for the NFL, can quickly shift into full-blown conspiracy theories. At any rate, fans still hope to see Swift in the stands on Super Bowl Sunday. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Laura Barone.
I'm happy for them.
And
Honestly.
today, a Pentagon spokesperson, when asked, denied that Taylor Swift was part of a Department of Defense psychological operation to get President Biden reelected. One senior administration official telling Politico, quote, "The absurdity of it all boggles the mind."
Over half of U.S. adults say they're
Congressional gridlock
fans
on
of
key
Taylor
issues like
Swift.
immigration.
That is hilarious. Oh. Dude, I can't, like, I don't know. Man. Yeah, that's just crazy. I don't know what else I wanted to watch. Oh, I hate this motherfucker. I hate John Bolton. I watched this video earlier, and I don't want to watch it on stream. I'm going to